All right, today is Monday, July 21st, 5:50 p.m. Eastern Standard. Just want to go through a couple of market ideas of things that I am currently looking at, a couple of opportunities, what I'm currently in as far as futures positioning, and some of the moves that I'm currently making in terms of stock markets and stock indices. So let's take a quick look in terms of futures. First thing I want to do is cover active positions as we talk to futures. And the first thing I have here is gold futures, which we did have a momentum buy trigger a couple of days ago. We've been in on this position. It actually was really close to getting stopped out, and then today had a nice surge. Actually, the highest move for gold in the past month. So a nice surge here, I think about $55 gain roughly. Really strong. We also see this sort of consolidating triangle pattern. So I'll talk you through kind of my idea or my thought process of where this is headed, but just want to highlight positions first. I'm also in on this copper position where we took some profit on this massive spike and then dump that was based on the tariff news of tariffing copper. I re-entered a position here that is currently in a decent profit as we're doing sort of a bull flag consolidation there. And then the other area is the Russell, which we are currently also in a momentum buy where it looked like it was going to break down and then it's kind of trickled back here. Really small position for me, and I would like to get in a little bit more potentially in TNA, which is the 3X small caps, but I'm going to probably wait until there's a little bit more of a correction before I consider getting into something like that. And then the other position that I entered, which had actually a really bad day today, was sugar. Sugar, I saw catching sort of a reversal here. This is not a momentum, this is more commitment of traders. We've seen the speculators here, and we're actually currently set up to go long. The commercials are stacked on the long side, and the speculators are stacked on the short side. And then we saw this kind of monster green candle to me that said, hey, look, this makes sense to potentially pull the trigger and go long. Granted, this could still be a bull flag. It all depends on tomorrow and the next couple of days price action to see if that's going to actually remain or break down. But I would like to see this thing break out to the top of the channel here and break further and get some upside. Otherwise, we're probably going to get stopped out here. Our stop is right around $16. So those are current positions that we're holding. The thing that I want to draw caution to is the NASDAQ. Now we look at the NASDAQ here, and I mean, honestly, if you look at any stock indice, as of right now, everything's got this sort of V-shaped recovery. If we look at the S&P, obviously the Russell's still trying to play a little catch up, but it's similar recovery. But the NASDAQ specifically, we see speculators, at least the large speculators, are very crowded on the long side, and the commercials are very crowded towards the short side on our current index on a scale of 0 to 100, 0 being max short, 100 being max long. The blue standing for the large speculators, and then the red standing for the commercials, as you can see on this CMR Commitment of Traders Index. That's what we're looking at right here. The NASDAQ's getting frothy. We're getting up to some really high valuations. When you also look at potential time series and reviews of timing analysis in the markets, I think NASDAQ starts to top out around here before we head down for a correction. Could be a 5 to 10% correction. And if we look at Elliott wave theory here, we actually have an interesting fifth wave that we're trying to conclude before we make our A wave correction, which could be anywhere from, according to this Elliott wave theory, I don't know, call it an 8 to 10% correction, potentially a 13% correction, maybe a 17% correction here. But yeah, we're definitely due for a pullback. That doesn't mean the market has to pull back, but it definitely means to me that things are getting a little bit frothy, and we should probably consider scaling out, taking some profits, and also not adding new positions here at all-time highs. So I'm going to go back to that and talk through some stock stuff in a second here, but I want to talk you through a trade idea with gold that we just covered here. And if we actually run, I mean, we could run a standard fib retracement from the high here. Yeah, it actually doesn't have the same tool that I use on Thinkorswim, so we're going to do the trend-based fib time extension up to the high right around there. Pull this thing down to the lows of the pullback, which were right around there, roughly speaking, we'll call it that. And we'll even get this down to actually the triple top here that we had there, there, and there. And so with that said, we're looking again at this consolidation. It's a very bullish pattern. We had a really nice close today. What I would like to see for gold, and the commitment to traders is relatively neutral. The small speculators actually are max long right now, and then the other two positions more neutral. What I would really like to see is in the overnight session and then going into the end of day tomorrow, since we have a Powell press conference thing, Powell speaking at 8:30 in the morning. I'd really like to see some pressure or some buying pressure here in the after hours in the Asian session and then into tomorrow and holding those gains through tomorrow and starting to break out and test the top of the channel here. If we can get a break, if we can really get a break of this triangle pattern here, my estimation is we're probably heading back up to 3,700, or we're heading to 3,700. That'll be a new all-time high. That is my current thought process here, and that is my current trade idea. I am long gold futures, and I think that is our current price target is 3,700 with a stop right below, I think it was June 30th, we had this bottoming pattern, so stop out at around 32.50. That's what I'm currently working with. My stop's actually a little bit higher because my momentum system, we do about a 5-day look back based on the entry. So we're really more around here, around a 32.85 stop that we put. And again, price target about 3,700. So that's what I'm looking at for gold. And I want to talk through, to go back to some stock picks. AMD, we talked about on a previous call where AMD, we were really stacking on the drastic decline here. I mostly was buying when AMD was around 110, and then I've been scaling out of my options positions. I was talking last time on the call that I would hold my last runner position until we get to the completion of this inverse head and shoulders to about $167. I've decided to take profit today right around 158 to 160 on AMD, which is a little bit shy of our target of our fourth option contract, and that was actually a 3x return. The reason I've decided to take that off is really just given the frothiness of the market right now. I mean, things are just getting a little bit overextended. I mean, we're seeing these massive moves like we're looking at, and I'm in a trade on Bull as an example here, and it doesn't really have, it's actually more recently IPO'd, I believe through a SPAC. Webull is one of these stock trading app platforms, and we had this monster move up just the other day into Friday's close to about 1680, and then we had this drastic decline today down to 14.5. I think it was down about 14%. I mean, we're just seeing Hood looking a little toppy here. We had a reversal here, sort of a doji at the top and then a reversal. Things are just looking a little overextended, and to me, it's like, you know what? How much am I really giving up here to take profits a little bit early on an AMD, for instance? So I've been sort of trimming positions. I've been trimming Coinbase. Also looks similar. I've been trimming Wayfair, which also looks toppy. Square, we actually trimmed on Friday where we had, again, this monster move higher with the inclusion to the S&P, but that also closed red today, which is interesting. Or at least, yeah, it opened, gapped up, and then it closed a little bit red, and there's really a big gap on that chart. So I think things are getting a little toppy here. Google actually having a monster day here. I probably will take some profits on that as well. And I believe that may not be an all-time high, but it's getting pretty close. Yeah. We're looking at a head and shoulder, which could be really interesting there. I mean, this could definitely move higher, though. That left shoulder is right around the same price that we're at on Google, which is very interesting, right around there. That's probably going to be a little profit-taking spot for me as well. But yeah, just things are looking a little toppy when we look at, like I said, the positioning. If we look at the S&P, that's actually pretty good. S&P is looking nice with a 94. Commercial's really pushing to go long here with the large specs at a 3. They're mostly short of the S&P, and the same thing with the Russell, which is why we have that position on. Russell's at 100. So the really only position that's a sign of caution to me is the NASDAQ, and that's why I'm taking profit on some of these, more mega cap tech companies. I just think we're getting a little extended here. I think we're due for a pullback. Even if I'm wrong, I still have some runners of most of these positions, but I would not be buying at these prices. I would not be adding, and I'm really excited, I would say, the most excited about this gold position here. I think gold really has some room to run a lot higher, and I also want to go back very briefly to our stock investing. We gave a couple of stock calls recently. We said Merck at around 83. We're currently down on that, but I can see this bouncing and recovering. I get stopped out. I'll probably look to re-enter this eventually. Moderna around 32. It's down to about 31. Very small pullback. Walgreens is flat from where we originally mentioned to go long. Apple is up slightly to 212 as we try to break out of this rectangle slash bullish pennant. And then we had MicroStrategy at 410, which is now at 430 after going all the way up to about 460. I took some profits here, did not obviously get the high, didn't get the low either, but I made some profit, and then I re-entered on Friday after the pullback. So currently in MicroStrategy still. The only one I'm no longer in is Merck, which we are going to look to re-enter hopefully in the next couple of trading sessions if we can see a little bit more upside here, because we're currently looking pretty red on the daily for our momentum indicator. Weekly still looks good, and the monthly still looks pretty good too. So we are looking to get into Merck again, and might as well take a look at all of them. MicroStrategy still in, just having a minor pullback. Moderna is looking like it's trying to close out. Walgreens obviously flat, and then Apple starting to get green. Good green weekly, trying to get back on the monthly indicator here for momentum, and then would love to see this thing flip on the daily to green. But yeah, that's sort of what we're looking at here. I'd be real cautious on the NASDAQ, due for a pullback. Positioning indicates that that's the case. Take some profits here, hold some runners if we're wrong, if it runs a lot further, which is definitely possible. And I don't know, I like this gold hedge. I think the position we just looked at on gold can be really interesting with that consolidating triangle, which is probably now going to be gone when I pull it back up, but you guys saw it earlier. Hope this is helpful, and feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and join us on the Discord. The link is in the description below. Thanks a lot.